What's up, y'all? It's Truth Tiger, and today I'm going to talk about people not being happy with their relationships. Most people are not happy with the relationship that they are in. I will say this, there are some people who are happy in their relationships. I think it's good to have a relationship. I think a good relationship, a good family, I think is a very amazing thing, a very important thing. And I've definitely seen people and known people who have had good relationships, and you could tell they both fit together well. You could tell they were both meant to be together. And you could tell that it was a good thing. They were teammates, they were partners, they worked together, they completed each other. I've known those people, but that's not most people. That is not most people at all. For everyone I've known like that, I've known 10 or 20 people that are just in some weird relationship that's not even good for them. They're not happy, it's not going anywhere. Then they have kids, maybe, and then now it's like they kind of resent the kids because they also, resent their husband or their wife, and then that kind of transfers over to the kids, and they're like, I don't even want to, have kids with this person, have this relationship, but I just fell into this, and they never even really loved each other or were really even meant for each other in the first place, but now they're just freaking in this relationship doing this thing, just I guess just because they don't want to be alone. It's something to do, it's what society says to do. But I see this everywhere, though. You go to the workplace, the people who are doing all that work flirt stuff, it's usually people who are in relationships. I'm telling you, the people who are trying to do all this work flirt and they're trying to be so flirty, it's because they don't want to have to think about the relationship that they have. And I've had people tell me very frankly, like some of my guy friends, that the relationships they're in is not something that they have any long term potential in. It's not something they see any future with. I've literally had a guy friend tell me that my relationship is a stopgap. And I'm like, dang, dude. I mean, I appreciate his honesty. Like, props to him for that. But that's not really what you want, though. That's not what you're going for. You want to be in something where there's long-term potential. And I can tell you, just as a guy who is pretty good looking, I have had so many women in relationships flirt with me so hard. If a girl is single, she's not going to flirt with me hard. If she's in a relationship, bro, she's going to go at me hard. I'm not even kidding. Because these people are not happy with what they're doing. They want to escape from it. They want to escape from the reality of their life. And the thing about a relationship, it's a commitment. You kind of glue yourself to that person. The person that you're going to glue yourself to and tie yourself to, you better make sure that you're cool with that person. And that's something that's going to work out in the future if you're going to be in a relationship with someone like that. Like, but people just do it, and they end up losing out on their individuality. They end up losing out on their dreams. They end up losing out on their goals. And I'm going to say, like, I want to have a relationship at some point. And, there's good relationships out there. I really want to, you know, emphasize that. It's good to, get married, have kids. It's good to do that. But if it's with the wrong person, with the wrong situation, it's going to be a nightmare. And you're far, far, far better off being single. And I've had like guy friends who are in long-term relationships, and they're telling me, oh, it must be nice to go on Tinder. It must be nice to do this. It must be nice to do that. And I don't really do all that online dating stuff anymore, but back in the day when I was, they would say stuff like that, and you could tell they felt very trapped. They felt like they never got to have fun. They just kind of felt like they just got in this relationship, got settled up, and just didn't really think about who they were or what they wanted to do, and they just got stuck in it. And a lot of these relationships, now you're in this relationship, and then now they want to move to a new city. You got to move there. They want to go back to school. You got to help them out with that. You got to support them through that. Now this and that. And they have some problem with their family. It becomes your problem. This is what happens. This is what happens. And a lot of people, just to make someone else happy and just to kind of, be agreeable and not have fights or arguments, they end up going along with stuff they don't even want to go along with. And I'm not even talking about people who are with narcissists or with really bad toxic situations. I'm just talking about people that are just in normal, average, everyday situations. Well, I guess in a lot of cases, I mean, narcissism is kind of normal, everyday average, to be honest, in our society. There's a lot of narcissism and a lot of toxicity. And I'll talk about the toxicity next. And there's a good amount of people I know who are, for one, insanely toxic. I've known so many people toxic, man. But I know a lot of people that just like, there's some people, they're only like attracted to a toxic person. Like I've had some guy friends just be like, oh, I only like crazy chicks, dude. And I've seen some of my guy friends just date the craziest chicks over and over again. And, a nice girl who's normal could come up to them and, she could, they wouldn't be interested. But if she's got like freaking mental issues and is nuts and is a narcissist and is like psycho, they're all about it. They are all about it. And then you get yourself in a situation that's hard to get out of because now you're with some psycho person that's not going to take your rejection well. I've known guys who've joined the military to get away from women like this that they have enabled and allowed into their life. I mean, I'm not going to show these guys too much sympathy because these situations, it was very plain as day that it was not a good situation. And you could just see bad move, very bad move. You could see by, the behavior of the girl that they're with, like, yo, this person is going to ruin your freaking life. What are you doing? This person has so many problems. And I've known these guys, oh, we're going to therapy together. I'm going to fix her. Oh, dude, it's just like, what are you doing? Yo, dude. And then I've known a lot of women who are just like, they love the worst guys, the most narcissistic, toxic, egotistical guys. They like these guys who will cheat on them and lie to them. And just the more toxic and just ridiculous these dudes are, they'll do it. And I've seen it where it's just a lot of these girls, they go from one narcissistic, weirdo, creepy dude to the next. Boom, 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 boom. And sometimes you get two people together that are crazy. And I've seen that a lot. You just get these two crazy people together. I remember my upstairs neighbors on my old place, they'd be fighting all the time, yelling at each other, going crazy. And I remember just seeing them together, and they did not look happy. They did not look like they should have been together. They both looked weird. And it just looked like they were just both trying to just control each other. They both had these leashes on each other, and they're just both pulling on the leash as hard as they can. And just like, oh man, just weird. I got a very bad vibe off those people. And you'll see a lot of couples fighting. If you really are keen with your eye, people don't want to show that. They don't want to fight in public. They don't want people seeing that because it's embarrassing. But you'll see a lot of couples, they're fighting, they're arguing, they're passive aggressive, they're not happy. They're just doing this relationship just to kind of do it. And you're just kind of wondering, like, why are these two people together? What are they getting from this? And I think a lot of people just don't want to spend some time on their own to self-reflect, to get themselves right so they can really get someone in their life who's actually good for them. They don't want to have to do that, so they just jump into the next most convenient relationship. And I think, for a lot of people, like, I don't like being rejected. That sucks. But for me also, like, I'm a little bit scared to reject people because if I reject some girl, that's going to hurt her feelings. She's going to not like that at all. She's going to, whatever, go a little crazy on me. And I've had stuff like that happen to me before where didn't take it well, So I think a lot of people get in these relationships and they don't want to have to reject that other person. And they just feel stuck because they feel too guilty to reject them. Or they don't have a backbone. They don't have a backbone. They're just like stuck in there. And you just wonder why these people are doing this stuff. What benefit they're gaining from it. And it's just like, and that's why a lot of people in relationships, I don't really envy them. I really don't. Because it's just, man, most of them, the vast majority of them, are unhappy. And then they have these unhappy homes, these unhappy families. And a lot of these people, they don't like get along at all as people anymore. And they just fight and they argue constantly. And they do not respect each other. And they're just in a situation that's not working. And I see some people also get together just like they just like to do it just to do it almost. It seems like there's no real good connection between the two people, but it's just like, I'm here, you're here, let's just get together. And a lot of people just want to do what's easy. They don't want to actually put in the work to find a good person, to heal themselves. I've known people who have done the work and who have gotten themselves healed and gotten over their problems. And like they have had very good, I've seen it like, and then they end up in a very good relationship. They end up with something very positive and healthy because they did the work and they didn't just, get with the first, most easiest, most convenient person to do what they didn't just grab the low-hanging fruit. They climbed up the tree and they made sure to actually get the apple that was right for them. And they did the work on themselves. I've known people who've done that, but for every one of those people, I've known 10 or 20 people that are they're doing God knows what. They're doing God knows what with these relationships. And it's just like these things are going to explode into big issues. And if you're with someone for years and years and years, and you don't really like them or want to be with them, it's going to be hard mentally and emotionally to separate from that person, even if you know they're not good for you. Because you've been with that person so long, you're so used to that person, you're familiar with that person, you have such a groove with that person, and you have made that connection with that person, even if they are very toxic. If you're in there for years and years and years, it's going to be harder to leave. The longer you're in it, the harder it is to leave. And I'm telling y'all, if you're in toxic relationships, get out. I'm not saying that, don't get my message twisted. If you're in a toxic relationship, even if it's been for freaking 30 years, get out. It's not going to be easy, but just get out of it. Don't stay in that. Do not stay in any toxic relationships. But yeah, most people are they're not happy with the lives they live. And a lot of people just feel like they are in prison in their relationships. They feel trapped. They're having to do things they don't want to do. They're having to go to social events they don't want to go to. They're having to hang around people they don't want to hang around. They're having to be friends with people now they don't want to be friends with. And they're not really even getting to be themselves. And I feel like a lot of people in these relationships, they don't even have their own space. They're not like autonomous people. They're just sort of tied in with this other person. And it's just this control battle. And they're both just trying to control each other and manipulate each other and gaslight each other. And I just wonder, why? For what reason? For what purpose? What does it do for them? What does it do for them? But people will do this stuff. And a lot of times people will get in a relationship with someone just because that person seems quote unquote safe. I've seen that. I've seen people do that. And it's like, you're going to be in some relationship with someone who you don't even really care that much about or love that much or respect that much just because they're a quote-unquote safe option. What are you doing that for? You should be with someone who you actually love, who you have that spark, someone who gets some butterflies going in your stomach. So someone you're with and it's just like they're like your brother or your sister and there's no butterflies, they're just like a friend, but you're like, well, let's get in a relationship. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to have that spark. It's got to be a little bit scary. It's got to be a little bit like, whoa. And I think that's why people go for toxic people, because there's maybe a thrill to it. There's like a lot of butterflies, but bad butterflies. I don't know. I think that's maybe why people get in toxic relationships, because there is maybe an initial thrill. It's a risky, thrill-seeking thing maybe. But yeah, you don't want to get into a toxic relationship, but you want to be with someone that makes you feel like, whoa, holy crap, someone that makes you feel maybe a little bit nervous at first, but that someone is like good for you and cool for you, and you connect with that person, and it's like you work together. And I've seen this. I've seen people who have really good relationships and they trust each other. You want to be in a relationship where you can trust someone. So many people are in relationships where they do not trust each other. Looking through the phone, where were you last night? Blah, 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 blah. They're trying to make each other jealous. Bro. I was out at a spot doing some dancing a couple weeks back. And a girl I was dancing with literally told me, I'm trying to make my boyfriend over there jealous. And he's there dancing with some other girls trying to make her jealous. And people are just doing stuff that's just not going to be productive in the end of the day at all. And the thing is, these people, it's like they're wasting their own time. they're wasting their own time and their own energy on something that's not even going to get them anything in the end of the day. It's just a bunch of drama. It's just a bunch of noise. It really is. And man, most of these people in these relationships, they are not happy. So yeah, my prayer would be that everyone could find a good relationship. They could find a good relationship that will make them happy, and that can come in the proper time. So yeah, much love, God bless, and I will see you all next time.